All right, guys. So I think we're live and good to go here. Tyson, what's up, dude?
Well, it's interesting. People don't see the behind the scenes of the show. Like they think we're very professional, but before the show, you're actually petting your cat. That's things people don't realize. It was kind of like a meditation thing, like to calm down and ease the excitement, pet the cat, and then here we are.
Yeah, dude, 100%, man. I mean, we at the end of the day, I mean, on a serious note too. Like, I'm not even like just saying this to say this or to be funny or anything. But, bro, I love how you're just yourself. You're not selling out or acting like a different person. Like when we text or when we're talking like before the show or after the show, you're the same exact guy like on camera. So it's really cool, man.
Dude, I'm having a blast with this, and that's the whole thing. It's like we just talk like we're friends. We are friends, but we just talk about what we think. And I honestly don't care what everybody else is saying. It's just based on our opinions, talking about our favorite team with the same goal of hoping to see this team win a Super Bowl. That's the goal, really. And we're at an exciting time now. We're at the third preseason game. You have roster decisions. You have the excitement for week one. So it's a really fun time to be a Jet fan because the expectations are make a legit run, throughout the playoffs.
Yeah, dude, 100%, 100%. And real quick, thanks to everybody that's hanging out. Jets Motivator, what's going on, man? Greg, Jets super fan, what's going on? Yo Holmes, what's happening, man? K dude, always in the stream, always in the chat showing love. So bro, huge week, right? Obviously, it's the last preseason game of the season. What is it, Saturday or Sunday?
Saturday.
I think it's Saturday. Yeah, yep. Saturday. MetLife Bowl, whatever you want to call it. There's always I mean, I don't know about you, but for me, whenever I'm watching the Giants Jets preseason game, it always kind of feels like a little bit more intensity than just, a regular old preseason game. And we obviously have the joint practice tomorrow. I thought it was Thursday, but it's tomorrow. So, and, by the way, only just the one day of joint practice. Saleh's, elaborated on the fact that he doesn't really, doesn't really feel the need to kind of include that second day for like fight reasons and things of that nature, players' frustrations and whatnot. Prestige, what's happening, man? Hope you're doing well. Crazy Fridge, what's good?
But you look back at the preseason history of the Jets and Giants. There's always extra juice, dude. There's the big injuries, the big, like the fans are all rivals. Like, I live by a ton of Giant fans. Heck, my family's Giant fans. Giant fans are going to Jet practice tomorrow. So there's a lot of just, a lot of excitement, a lot of energy. And it's a battle of New York. People want to have the bragging rights between the players too. Like they know, like whoever wins that game, you kind of got a little step up. So it's fun to see, man. I'm not sure how many starters are going to play. You look at Aaron Rodgers' comments today. If they have a pretty good heated practice tomorrow, you get the feeling the starters probably aren't playing on Sunday or Saturday.
Yeah, so I guess we can kind of start there. So in that Rodgers presser, he talked about how this is one of the the hardest training camps that he's had in the last 7-8 years, which I thought was pretty eye opening to be honest with you. And also to hear him elaborate and talk about, we're 300 extra snaps further ahead this go round compared to last season. And that it was actually Robert Saleh's choice. It was his decision, and they premeditated that before camp even started. So everybody knew that coming in. And to me, at least, man, like that's a huge win, because when I think about Robert Saleh just in the past, I think of like a reaction, like a coach that kind of reacts as opposed to being proactive about certain situations. A player gets hurt. It's not until the player gets hurt that we're trying to figure out how to, move forward, or an offense or a defense is attacking us one way. It doesn't, you kind of feel like a portion of the game has to go by to kind of have the Jets adjust it and whatnot, as opposed to maybe having a backup plan. And I guess, part of that also falls on Joe Douglas's shoulders as well. But yeah, man, I mean, I personally love how, and I get that it could go both ways. You can also, say that, all right, well, the Jets might be more beat up. The Jets might be
but I mean,
tired or break down at the end of this. Go ahead.
No, I think he shows that he's evolving. He's evolving as a head coach, where he's learning lessons. He's doing a lot of different things. Also, it's like it's a win now season, and it's also it can explain a lot of things where it's like, all right, listen, our starters aren't playing against the Panthers, not playing against the Giants, but they've got all these reps in. They are game ready. Like my biggest concern, which I always kept telling you, is I don't want to see week one they come out lackluster, unprepared, communication mistakes, and you're like, dude, this is why they should have played in the preseason. Especially when you saw Mahomes play and Kelsey and everybody else. But they say, no, we have our blueprint. Like Saleh's doing a lot of things his own way. Like he's dying on his own sword, where it's like, listen, I want to do this. I want to have one joint practice. Day two is always fights. It's always the revenge day. I want to avoid Avenge Day. I want to have one great day of practice and we move on. So I give him credit. And Rodgers saying that is going to take a lot of pressure off Saleh too. When your leader says that, like, listen, this training camp was hard as hell. All right, you know what? All the critics are going to back up. This team's prepared. We have, like, what they're telling us, we're going to buy in now. As fans, we all buy in. Front and center, let's see it. But show us week 1, though. You know what I mean? Like, it's fun to say it, and we're going to buy, this is their choice, their plan that's supported by the entire organization, and we see what happens with it. I'm encouraged by that, though, because I've been very hard on Saleh. I've been to practice the last couple of years. I'm like, dude, this is like, what are they doing? It's like, no sense of urgency. It just didn't seem like there was a lot of guys standing around. So it's changed, and it's more physical reps, more attention to detail, more accountability, which I'm going to touch on later. I'm glad.
Yeah, dude, 100%. I mean, Rodgers and Saleh both use the word callous right today. Like, just the way I look at it, man, it's last season didn't go as planned. It's not like we're the Chiefs, or the 49ers, and we're like, oh, we're this fantastic team and we're constantly in the playoffs every single year and nobody's doubting us. And, we're just riding high. I personally feel like there's a lot that the Jets have to prove to a lot of people out there, whether it's the front office, whether it's the coaching staff, not so much the superstar players, Brees and Garrett and Sauce, those guys, their play is what it is, but maybe Rodgers to a certain degree, the coming off the Achilles at 40. Bottom line is last season didn't go as planned. Quarterback problems, O-line problems, injuries, game planning, play calls, all these different issues. I would rather the Jets have more cracks at the bat, ironing out the issues from last season, or at least attempting to. I mean, you're never going to solve every week, every weakness. You're not going to look at the Chiefs and say, oh yeah, they have, A+ here, A+ here, A+ here, just going down the list from front office down to executives, down to coaches, down to positional, obviously there's always going to be weaknesses with every, NFL team. You're never going to completely hit a home run and just solve every single issue, as well as, building up, on top of what you're already good at, as a team the previous season. So, as long as as long as Saleh and co and Hackett specifically, they've identified the issues and they're giving it their all, they're trying their best, and they're actually changing things up. They're not just talking about it. They're actually, acting and being about it. I think that is, that's really all we can ask for at this point.
But you made a really good point. I think there's something to prove to themselves. They got to prove to themselves they can win the big games and be a winning organization and be a playoff organization. Like, we all love Aaron Rodgers. He's got to prove he can come back off this serious injury at 40 years old and play at a very high level. That's the expectation. He can manage his offense. He can overcome Hackett. Like, this team has got to prove they can win as a unit on the road in tough spots and become that, win 4 out of 5, win 5 out of 6, win in a big spot in a night game. Like, they have the talent. They have everything's in place now. Now it's just do it. Like, last year they talked about doing it. They didn't do it. Now they got to prove they can do it. And that's a big step, man. That's a lot of teams. It takes time. Like, it's like year by year, you go from like 7 wins to 8 to 9. But the Jets want to take a huge leap because they're a huge upgrade at quarterback. And that's the difference. So it's exciting, man. But there's like, in no organization is perfect, but a lot of things can help you with that, where a great defense can win you a game or two, sneak your game out. A great quarterback can hide, holes in your offensive line. There's different areas of your team that can pull your weight when you're down somewhere else. So I think the Jets have enough depth and talent to do those kind of things.
Yeah, so I think we can maybe focus in on this final preseason game. I mean, you touched on it before. You don't really get the sense that a lot of starters are going to be out there. But personally, man, I really wouldn't, like, me being honest, I would not mind seeing these guys out there for a drive or two. The only player that I'm putting him on ice until the season starts, Tyron Smith. That's the only player, because you watch how dominant he is when he is out there, whether it's last season or the season before that or the season before that. He's such a great player. He knows his body. He knows how to get ready for an NFL game. He looks fantastic. Even for a series, though, like one series, get the starting 5 offensive line out there, or 2 series, including Tyron. Like, to me, I wouldn't hate that. To make, just make sure your communication is good. You get in and out of the huddle, just get a little experience. Like, all right, I know they're all pros, but I don't know, man. I kind of want to see them all together in game action. But again, they're going to be facing this giant team, tomorrow. The other thing, too, is if just say you put Olu in the mix at left tackle, the Giants play their starting front,
That starting front's legit, dude. You got some guys creating havoc there. Burns, Lawrence, Thibodeau. You know what I mean? It's like a risk reward kind of thing with that.
Yeah, I mean, you got to get ready for San Francisco because it's they're no joke too.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And they obviously play a similar style defensively. So hopefully, we should be a little bit more prepared going into that 49ers game than if it was just some random team out there, right? Yeah. Chicago Bears or something. But dude, I mean, it's to me at least a pretty big debate on whether these guys should see time, whether they shouldn't. Do you want to risk the injuries? Because God, I mean, could you imagine if like the question that Saleh would have to answer if one of these star players goes down, and it's like he probably doesn't want to be in that situation. That I truly believe that actually is a part of this whole thing, like media. Because look, if Joe Burrow were to get hurt, right, he's going to miss a month or two. Mm-hmm. Nobody would maybe for that day would be a question. Hey, was it a questionable decision? Roll Joe Burrow out there. Things happen. It is what it is. But with the Jets, dude, if it's Aaron Rodgers going down with an injury, it's gonna be Jets are dysfunctional. What is Robert?
But you can't coach like that though. You can't coach about the media and the fans. You can't because that's the Jets' problem in the past. They're worried about the friggin' media reactions.
Well, that's what I was gonna say.
You do what's best for your organization. But now the way Rodgers talked today, to me, it was like, yep, they're not playing on Saturday. But the other thing that they mentioned like last week is they had like 60 or 70 reps against the Panthers in the joint practice. They had a lot of reps. Like we don't see that side of it. We don't see how many reps, all that stuff, which is all right. Like Kevin made a good point last night. He's like, listen, if they're getting say they get 60 good reps tomorrow, do you really need 6 more on Saturday? Probably not. You know what I mean? If it's an abundance where you're like, all right. And the way the Jets practiced today, where it was all second and third stringers and the first stringers were all off, that means tomorrow it's going to be first string heavy in practice, which means, you know what? Mm-hmm. You're going to see the same thing on Saturday then. But then there's a plan, though. Like, you understand the plan. Like, to me, I'm like, wow, they're actually acting like an intelligent organization that has a legitimate blueprint that they know what they want to do when they want to do it. So what the ones play tomorrow extensively against a very good Giant defense, both sides, and then Saturday you see all these young guys, because a lot of young guys fighting for either a roster spot or playing time, which I'm sure we're going to talk about, which is going to be really, really interesting.
Yeah, and it's again, man, like when you listen to Rodgers speak, when you listen to even like a CJ Mosley speak, like you do have confidence in the veterans and them knowing their own abilities and knowing their own bodies. Like you don't necessarily need a head coach to go out there and make that decision for you. We're not dealing with like a Zach Wilson or like, one of these rookie quarterback like Jaden Daniels or Caleb Williams or something like that, Michael Penix. I have a lot more faith in Aaron Rodgers. If he comes to Saleh and says, hey man, like we're good. We're fine offensively. We don't need to roll out there, on Saturday and risk it, right? Like I feel 100% good. But on the flip side, if he comes to Saleh and is saying, okay, hey, you know what? We're like 85% of the way there. There's still a little bit of rust that I personally want to shake off. I think it would maybe be in the best interest if I get a quarter, if I get 2 drives or something, just to dip my toe in the water. Despite it only being preseason, if you're Saleh, would you say no to that? I think for the most part, I would, take into consideration how the players are actually feeling on it. Like if Tyron Smith is just like, hey coach, I really don't want to play. As a head coach, I'm like, okay, you know what? I have enough awareness to say, well, I'm not going to just throw you out there because.
And that's the difference. This year, you have a tremendous amount of veteran leadership that can help guide you. Just look at the influx from last year to this year. You have Morgan Moses, Tyron Smith, Mike Williams. Those 3 additions on offense are veteran guys that have been there, done it, and played at a very high level. If you have them along with Rodgers, you had that leadership group right there. If Tyron Smith, Mike Williams, and Aaron Rodgers said, listen, coach, I think everybody's on the same page. I think we're in a good spot here. Like, how are you going to say no? Last year, you had what? You had Mekhi Becton and this guy and that guy. You didn't know what the hell's even going on. Who's playing where? It was a mess, and nobody was really established doing anything. Once Rodgers went down, you had Zach Wilson run around. You're like, we don't know what we're doing here. You know what I mean? So I think it's an influx of a lot more talent, a lot more leadership, a lot more accountability, where you have a little more faith in the blueprint. And you have a feeling that they talked about it before the season or before the training camp, where this is our idea. What do you think? Because they have like that little Jets committee, the leadership committee within the players. They discuss it. So I think it seems like it's well planned out. You buy into it. It makes today's explanation made so much sense to me. I'm like, this is perfect. I'm like, we actually have an adult coaching this team, not a guy that's in over his head, not a guy swimming. He knows what's on the line, and he knows what he wants to do. Now, will it work out? We'll find out in a couple weeks, but it's encouraging, man.
Yeah, and I think another thing, and by the way, Stefan, I appreciate that, man. We both appreciate that. That's awesome. Yeah, every Tuesday at 7 o'clock, we're gonna be rotating channels.
Yep.
I mean, literally until I don't even know how long. Like, we don't even have an end date.
To
So
the
this is
Super
gonna
Bowl
be
when we're going to be in it.
well, no, man, because I mean, we even do it, in free agency and the draft and whatnot.
Yep.
We did take a break in the summer, but yeah, dude, every Tuesday from here on out. Obviously, next week it'll be on Tyson's channel. Let's Talk Jets Radio. And I tried something new. I tried tagging your channel in the title, so hopefully people can click on it. On StreamYard, I can't do anything with it, with the link or anything, but yeah, hopefully that works. But
now, the one thing I have a question for you. Like we looked at the quarterbacks that played against the Panthers. I thought the game was terrible. Like it was just really difficult to watch against the Panthers.
Yeah.
But we went in with expectations like the quarterbacks coming off good performances where you're like, hey, you know what? Like you're kind of encouraged. Like these guys seem like they're better than Zach Wilson already. Took a little bit of a step back. But to me, if I'm looking at a third string quarterback, I kind of want to see more of Martinez this weekend because I like the way he throws the ball. He looks very mobile. It looks like he's like a better overall quarterback than Peasley. Which guy did you have a feeling on so far going at looking for your third quarterback?
I mean, it's tough because I felt like both quarterbacks did a really good job that first day or that first game. And then in the second, I don't want to sit there and say, oh, they took a step back, they got worse. But you can tell that, to me at least, there was a pretty big difference in performance from week 1 to week 2. I mean, it just kind of seemed out of sync. Martinez, especially, like with Peasley, it kind of just got the to me, it seemed like Peasley got the Zach Wilson treatment from last year, where the only plays that he was dialing up were just screens, or that the Hackett was dialing up, where they were just little, slip screens, little dump offs. And granted, like I feel like anytime we see it, see a Hackett called game, we're going to see a bunch of screens. But this, especially this week too, man. Like this is the last preseason game. Nothing counts here. Win, loss, it doesn't matter. We need to figure out who we have confidence in as that QB3. I don't think Travis is going to be ready for the start of the season, but instead of, maybe me looking at, okay, I like Martinez a little bit more, or maybe Peasley's a better game manager, but Martinez has the better arm. The way I'm looking at it is clean slate for both guys. They've both had their, shining moments. They've both had their down moments in preseason. One last preseason game, go out, and if I'm Hackett, I'm cutting it loose. Also give the wide receivers a chance as well to make plays down the field. I mean, how many times in your head can you count, or recall like deep shots down the field, or even passes that just go beyond 20 yards? It's just like from the last from that Panther game, like not many, maybe one, and it was like Martinez, falling away.
Smith. Yeah.
So, again, if I'm Hackett, like there's really only one way to find out like what you have in these guys, and it's to let them throw the football. Like I feel pretty confident in the running back room. This isn't a game for me personally where I'm super interested in handing the football off a ton.
But what do you do? Because to me, it's like, is Izzy playing for a spot on this roster or a trade? Because I think we can agree, Braylon Allen and Isaiah Davis have shown plenty where you're like, all right, I like what they're bringing to the table. They look like they're more than ready to back up Breece Hall, be a part of this offense. Izzy actually showed me something last week where he ran with conviction. He looked like he was explosive, physical. He has kind of a special teams element. Could that be like a showcase game for Izzy? We're like, all right, let's see before we release him. Maybe we can trade him somewhere. Or do you find a spot for him on the team? Like, I don't think you keep 4 running backs, but maybe is there any way that Izzy stays based on his performance on Saturday?
Well, I just don't know if the Jets keep 4 running backs. I mean, can you, put a guy like that on the practice squad? I don't know.
You think somebody else would pick him up? I think he may get picked up, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. I mean, I'm trying to think of a team who needs like a third down explode. First off, I thought Izzy actually looked pretty solid against Carolina.
So that's the best he's looked. Yeah,
which was encouraging. But again, Davis is making the roster. Braylon's making the roster. Breece is making the roster. Those 3 are locks. So for that 4th spot, obviously no more Tariq Cohen, but I think it's Valladay and Izzy fighting for that fourth spot. But the bigger question is, do the Jets even have that fourth running back
I don't think
spot?
they do.
So, I mean, obviously I would ideally want to keep him on the practice squad.
Yep.
But look, if a team out there, like I was reading something today, I think Jamar Gibbs for the Lions either got hurt or is coming back or something.
Yep.
Trying to figure out exactly, a team that would have like that need for a young explosive running back.
Yeah,
It's tough to think of one off the top of my head, but
it could be something to keep an eye on. I mean, that's because you figure we'll go into returners later, but it seems like the spots we thought he was going to play in had been kind of filled by other people. So it's like, all right, he's the odd man out. But then what really gets interesting, I can't wait to talk to you about this, is the wide receiver group, which we've talked about endlessly, I think, since like January, where Mike Williams is back, but he's not practicing until next week. So you figure he's going to be on a pitch count week 1. You're not going to see, you're going to see Mike Williams, but you're not going to see, like, he's going to be limited. You have Garrett Wilson, you have Lazard, Corley, clearly a work in progress. After that, you're like, all right, Malik Taylor gets hurt. Brownlee had the one drop. Irv Charles showed some good things, special teams, but like, what do you do at wide receiver? To me, what you said about let the quarterbacks throw the ball, I say absolutely, because we haven't seen what these receivers can do because it's been all running the ball. Like, throw the ball and because like Brownlee's one drop stood out because he only had a couple opportunities. He didn't have a lot of opportunities. If he had 5 catches for 70 yards, like, all right, he had one drop, who cares? But we're focusing on every little drop because I'm not airing the ball out. To me, the wide receiver group is a lot of questions where I'm at the point where once the cuts happen, if you could find me a veteran receiver somewhere else that's been consistent, like a good pass catcher, I'd probably consider it, man. I'd look for somebody else because you got to figure Mike Williams is probably not going to be legitimately ready to week 3, week 4. Like, I'm telling like 100% full speed, actively involved in the offense, like week 3 probably, right?
Yeah, I mean, well, another thing too that we have to factor in the cuts from other teams.
Yeah,
like, could there be that one random veteran on on a team that has a new coaching staff coming in, and maybe that player has been good in the past but doesn't necessarily fit the offensive system moving forward? A player like that, potentially. I think it's tough though because I mean, I guess that could be the case if there's somebody that the Jets absolutely love, but it just doesn't really feel as though there's much urgency to bring another wide receiver in, because I felt like, okay, maybe we could bring somebody else in when we got the news of Malik Taylor going down, who is out for the season, but it's just been silent. So, I was thinking, okay, well, maybe the Jets bring in somebody for like that last week of preseason and just kind of see what he can do. Let's just throw him out there. Maybe he impresses, maybe he doesn't. We'll get him in the joint practice, but that's tomorrow. So, if you sign a guy tomorrow morning, he's not going to be suiting up. I don't believe so. Yeah, I mean, it would have to be one of those, I would say, bigger name veterans that is just like a no-brainer type of move if the Jets want to bring in somebody else.
No, I'm listen, this is all in year, dude. I'm all about upgrading positions. I don't care about feelings. I don't care about potential. Like, because the guys that are all there are young guys who they haven't been legitimate NFL contributors. Gibson's a nice player, shows a lot of speed, but you have a lot of guys with no catches or very little. So if you can get a guy that's, like, I saw the one guy said maybe MVS is going to get cut, which I hate him, but you know what?
If it's he's hurt. So he actually I think he hurt his neck in the Steeler game. Cause I remember just, I was walking by the TV and I saw it. It almost looked like he got like crunched inwards. So that I think could be the reason why he's going to be released. And
then you look at it like that. So it's like, if there's a guy out there, I'm not opposed to doing it, because then you look at Irv Charles, who's slowly but surely coming on, very good special teams player. But then you see other players that are taking that gunner role too. So like, it's gonna be really interesting to see how they handle this, because I look for upgrades, man.
Okay, so I just pulled up the list as you were talking about free agents right now, and I got to be honest, man, that there's a couple names on here that, I mean, if I was New York, I would at least call to bring in. Let me share my screen real quick, and we can kind of go through some of these names. There's one name that's really interesting. And I was actually just talking about this player a couple days ago with my buddy. Let's see here. Present, share screen.
Because you figured tomorrow, like, the joint practice could be like the last tryout for these young players. Like, all right, we've seen what they can do now. Now it's time for us to make our move. Like, we've given them their best chance. Hunter Renfrow.
So Hunter Renfrow, Michael Thomas, Juju Smith-Schuster, Agnew from Jacksonville. He's more of like a return guy.
Yep.
Randall Cobb, Marquise Goodwin, Chase Claypool from Buffalo. I think that was also another injury thing.
Yeah.
But Ricky James from Kansas City.
Yep.
Martavis Bryant did just sign. But, dude, I think the two names for me, at least, that stand out, and I'm not talking about making the 53. I'm just talking about Joe picking up the phone and just inquiring about these two players, just in case, right? Just to see what happens. Richie James from the Chiefs and Michael Thomas.
Yeah. Why not?
I mean, Renfrow is interesting, but, like we have Gibson and Malachi Corley there. I don't think they're interested in breaking in another slot.
It's gonna be an outside guy you need.
Yeah. Randall Cobb just signed to announce college games. Yeah, so I guess we could cross him off the list too. But I don't even think he'd really make that much of an impact.
And there's also gonna be guys that get cut too. So it's like I can't wait for the cut list to come out because, dude, there's always guys that surprise you, whether it's a cap casualty, whatever it is, a young guy beat him out. It's just like a finance thing. Dude, I think the Jets have got to look. You got to look at wide receiver, and then the position we'll talk about next too. I mean, you have to. And let's be honest. Look at the tight end group, Ian. Where we love Conklin. We all love Ruckert. He's coming off concussion, been banged up a lot. After behind them, to me, the guy that locked up a spot is Ferkser because Yeboah hasn't really stuck out. Kuntz is just practice squad. He's just still learning. So that's another spot where you find another veteran tight end that's got a little bit more ability. I would probably sign him. I'm not gonna lie to you.
It's interesting, man. So my cursor, yeah. So this is what, yeah, dude, great point. This is kind of what we were just diving into. Second and third string play calling has been very conservative. We need to open it up, and give the players a chance to showcase. Yeah. So both for quarterbacks and wide receivers, and I guess
tight ends.
And I guess you could even argue offensive linemen in pass protection, on plays that last more than 3 seconds. Yep. How is the protection hold up when the quarterback actually has to stand in there and deliver a pass? This nonsense about showing our hand is ridiculous. I think. Yeah, I mean, also too, man. If you're nervous to if you're an NFL team talking about an NFL playbook, especially in somebody in Nathaniel Hackett who's called plays before and has been a part of numerous teams and has worked under a bunch of different head coaches, Matt LaFleur included. It's we have to have a couple of vanilla or generic or everyday plays that go beyond 10 to 15
pass
yards.
And throw it deep. It ain't hard. It's you know what I mean?
That's not gonna. I mean, you could literally install something this week, just a couple of deep shots. And I'm not talking about, I want to see 4 deep, 4 40-yard passes from Peasley, 5, 35-yarders from Martinez. I'm just saying, hey, let's implement a couple plays where the quarterback has to drop back 5, bring it back 5 steps, have him climb the pocket and, rifle a pass over the middle of the field that travels beyond 15 yards from the line of scrimmage. Everything has just been underneath, or if anything does materialize down the field, it kind of just seems like it's either a goal line fade situation, or it's the quarterback trying to extend a play and he's rolling out, and then it's just all right, let me chuck it deep. But yeah, as far as designed play calls that are actually, trying to get the perimeter wide receivers involved, whether it's play action or not, I mean, we can easily do that. And like you said, man, if the Jets feel like that's showing their hand, that's a bit weird, because you're telling me an NFL team doesn't have at least a handful of plays that are considered vanilla. I mean, you can. I don't want to.
Or their plan was to see what do we have in Braylon Allen and Isaiah Davis. Let's see what our run blocking's like. Let's see what this offense is probably run predicated, right? That's probably ground and pound kind of approach. Let's see what our run blocking looks like. Let's see what these running backs look like, and then we can open it up. But I agree with you. I would do it. I want to see what the wide receivers can do, the tight ends can do, and see, because you hear about all these great, Kenny Yeboah is really coming on. We haven't seen anything in the preseason games. Nothing. So at what point do the practice reports match the game reports? At what point do we see what this is? Let them show it on Saturday. Let them show it tomorrow. But that's tomorrow won't be. It's going to be Saturday. But let them earn their spots. I have a lot of questions at wide receiver and tight end. I do. Because I want a stacked offense where you know how Rodgers is. I mean, Randall Cobb talked about it last year. If he doesn't trust you, the ball's not going to you. So you got to clean that up a little bit. And the one thing I wanted to ask you about, I mean, Michael Thomas he's got a hell of a lot of talent. He's got some off the field stuff too, though. I'm not sure if that's where the Jets are kind of like they don't want to deal with him.
Yeah, I mean, it is surprising that he hasn't been brought in for, I don't think he's been brought in for a workout, from an NFL team. I could probably just search that real quick just to double check, but I don't believe, like, I don't think he's been with the team this offseason.
So it's either is he any kind of health issues? Is he physically fit and ready to play? Or and if he is there off the field issues, or is the money so ridiculous? People are like, yeah, we're not paying that right now. We're not, they don't want to give that kind of money to him.
So it looks like the recent kind of, rumblings that I guess, the latest was the latest was just like, I guess, betting odds, and it's Dallas for Michael Thomas, obviously in the midst of this whole CeeDee Lamb situation. But beyond that, it was May 23rd. So we're talking months ago here. The report was several NFL teams are reportedly interested. Pittsburgh Steelers and Baltimore Ravens were the two mentioned. So, I guess this kind of leads into what I was going to say before, kind of lost track, but it's not just this last joint practice of preseason game. We also have this extra like off week as well, so that's going to be a bunch of practices too that, the offense can hone their craft and hopefully figure out more answers. But yeah, I mean, I'm with you. Like, we have to make decisions as far as the roster cuts. We need to be able to analyze, quarterbacks, Martinez, Peasley, wide receivers on the outside, pass blocking offensive linemen for more than 2-3 seconds in a play. Let these guys sling it down the field.
Now, funny you mentioned the offensive line, because I'm going to get roasted for this. Well, you can do this first before I get roasted. So you can.
Yeah, dude, blunt it, bro. Thank you so much, dude. I appreciate that. Always remember, you are braver than you believe, stronger than you seem, smarter than you think, and love more than you know.
That's a really
that's sweet, man. That's awesome. I appreciate that, bro. Thank you so much.
So we're watching Saturday's game. Well, first of all, it starts in the joint practice where your best friend Olu was playing right tackle. I'm like, all right, go in the game. He's playing right tackle. And my first thing was like, I didn't like it. And this is probably an old school thinking where I'm like, you know what? This is a rookie in the NFL trying to learn left tackle, learning a new offense, learning his teammates, learning the speed of the game. To me, that game is an excellent opportunity for him to play left tackle and keep building that experience up. I'm not like, you have other guys who have been practicing right tackle and play right tackle. Let them worry about that. The Max Mitchells, Carter Warner, everything else. And I understand and think, well, he's a very good player who wanted to be versatile. In my world, I expect that Tyron Smith at some point is going to get hurt this year. He's going to miss 3 games, maybe 4 games, maybe even more than that, God forbid. But that's probably going to happen, right? That's the expectation. Nobody thinks he's going to play 17 games. Whatever game he's not playing, that's going to be Olu's game. So for me, I'd rather have Olu just become a master of his craft, ready for left tackle. So if Morgan Moses goes down tomorrow, he's not the first man up. It's going to be probably freaking Carter Warner, Max Mitchell. So I didn't I understand the experiment. I understand versatility. I understand all this other stuff. I just didn't agree with it.
Yeah, personally, I want to keep Olu at left tackle too. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just saying that's my personal opinion. If I'm if I'm Saleh, Fashion, a left tackle. He's always played left tackle.
Yep.
He was drafted as a left tackle, coming off a fantastic couple seasons at Penn State where he was a star left tackle. Yep. He's going to be the franchise left tackle for this football team. Tyron Smith is injury prone. He's up there in age, and he's on a 1-year contract. Let's keep him at left tackle here. Again, not saying that putting Olu at right tackle is going to ruin his career or it's going to be the demise of the Jets season or anything, but I think, yeah, with there's certain guys that I just don't want to get like too cute with, right? Breece Hall, keep him, let's play to his strengths. Has a lot of them. Let's play to him, right? Garrett Wilson, play to his strengths. Sauce Gardner, right? Michael Carter, Quinnen Williams, these guys, Quincy Williams, Jermaine Johnson. There's a handful of really, really good, really talented young players on this team. I don't want to mess with them. I don't want to, and I'm not necessarily saying that moving guys around the offensive line is like, again, the demise of a career, but I just don't want to see, I don't want to see another Becton situation, right?
Exactly.
Where, you kind of feel like him and the team are at odds a little bit. Him and the coaching staff are at odds. One day he's at left tackle, one day he's at right. He's dealing with injuries. And I get it. They're two different players. I'm not calling, saying, oh, well, if Olu keeps practicing at right tackle, he's going to be the next Becton. Not saying that. Maybe Olu's a fantastic swing tackle. Great. But I think the Jets just have to have a plan in the event that, okay, if Olu's the swing tackle here, right? And Morgan goes down, Tyron Smith is healthy, Moses goes down week 1, week 2. It's looking like the Jets are going to plug Olu in there. But then what happens if Tyron Smith goes down? Now you're going to be taking Olu and playing him at left tackle.
Exactly.
Or are you going to be promoting Max Mitchell or Carter Warren to starting left tackle and keeping Olu there? I mean, we just went through this whole debate / predicament with Elijah Vera Tucker.
Exactly.
Literally, bro. Right tackle, right guard, left tackle. And it's crazy because Saleh talked about it. He's just like, oh, no, we're going to be keeping AVT.
We learned our lesson. Yeah.
Yeah, we learned our lesson. We're going to keep him at one position. Maybe injuries played a part in it. We've heard players get vocal about swapping positions on the offensive line constantly. And look, if you want to move positions for a season, right, we're going to take this guard and we're going to play him at center. They kept talking about, who was it? The guard from Carolina that is now playing center for the team because they added Robert Hunt. He was his team's starting guard last season. They moved him to center. That's cool. No problems with that. But when it's like this weekly Band-Aid thing,
I hate it.
Where it's like, oh, we're weak here. We're going to plug you here. Oh, wait, we have this guy coming back, but now our right tackle's out. We're going to move you over there. I think that's only a few guys could do that really, really well. Yeah, dude. Yo, Holmes, AVT, moving AVT around messed him up. And yeah, I think
okay.
Go ahead, Tyson.
No, the thing is, and Olu just got here. He's a rookie. Like, he's just getting acclimated to the offense, the team, working with Simpson, all these different things. It's just like, now we're moving him. And like you said, it's almost being too cute. And I'm more because I want him 1,000% prepared to step up if Tyron Smith can't play. That's what I want. That's my focus. Like, and the whole swing tackle thing, again, it's nice. I understand it. I just don't agree with the way they're handling it. Because to me, it's like, get more reps. He can play left tackle more and keep working on it. Because the NFL quickly changes. They're going to figure out what he does and adjust to it. How can he adjust to this? So the more looks he gets against more different players in the NFL, the better off he's going to be. That's how I look at it. You know what I mean? Like, again, he practices against a very good defense. That's great. You get used to your own teammates. Get strangers in front of you with different approaches and see how do they attack you as a different defensive front. So we'll see what happens. I don't know. It kind of annoyed me though. I'm like, I thought we just went through this. So, and again, like everybody's saying, well, next man up. If Morgan Moses go down, just throw him over there. I understand, but it's like, honestly, is that your best right tackle at that spot? Because if it is, what in the hell have Carter Warren and Max Mitchell been doing for the last couple of years? Like, what are we doing with them? They're just kind of, they're not that good. Then why are they here?
Yeah, and you could also say this too. Actually, you know what, Dolan, bro, we got to dive into this first, man. Nebraska. So, yeah, dude. First things first. I appreciate the 10, man. Thank you so much for hanging out on a Tuesday here. Yeah, dude. So, local Jet fan from Nebraska. So excited to see what the Huskers are going to do with Dylan Raiola. Bro, I am too, man. Matt Rule. I don't know if I mean, I'm sure you have if you're a big Husker fan, but if you go on YouTube and find like the Matt Rule pregame like locker room speeches, man, those things are sweet. Those things get me fired up. And I'm not even a Nebraska fan, but I am pulling for Rule and Raiola, man. He's gonna be good, bro. He looks like I don't want to just link him and have the cliche comparison here, but I can see why people are saying he's reminiscent of Pat Mahomes, like his arm angle, the way he makes plays and kind of runs around and stuff. So yeah, dude, I'm excited for you guys. But bro, I appreciate the 10, man. Thank you so much. But what I was gonna say before, dude, was so Olu's just so talented. He's the next man up. It's interesting how the Jets only do this with O-line. Because it's like, are they playing Garrett at slot? Not really. No. Can Garrett play slot? Can he be effective on the inside? Oh yeah, he could really do some damage there.
Yeah.
What's another example? Like, are they putting Sauce Gardner, lining him up on, at the slot? Are they even allowing him to follow the number one wide receiver?
Yep.
Not really. I mean, yeah, they might do it a little bit more this season, but it's not like this thing. But with offensive line, it just seems like that's like at the forefront. Like, okay, we got to have multiple guys good at multiple positions. And I understand the logic, but
Yep.
to me, it's just like if you have like a face the franchise type of player, top end first round pick, I'm not messing with them. But that's just me though.
No, that's probably the biggest question right now on the offensive line. I think everything else, I mean, the whole Tippmann thing, you're hoping that, the snaps are okay. Like that's, like offensive line, I think you feel comfortable. We're now just a matter of depth. Like, can you see any surprise cuts though? Do you think, well, Max Mitchell played extensively last week. Could you see a surprise cut where one of these guys get moved?
Sorry, I was reading this comment right here. Would you say that one more time?
Can you see anybody on the offensive line, any surprise cuts?
To be honest with you, I actually feel like the Jets should carry one extra guy there. If we're going to be sticking with the 3 running backs, and I would say if we're going to be rolling with Rodgers and Tyrod at quarterback, I would be fine with just dressing those 2 and then keeping the winner of the Peasley-Martinez battle on the practice squad.
Yep.
I mean, what you could probably do too is put both on the practice squad so that if you feel good about both, obviously, right, and assuming Jordan Travis is not ready to go,
right,
up to this point, he hasn't had one practice, like as far as like team drills are concerned. But you could stash both guys in the practice squad. So in the event that one gets picked up, you still have another one there. And then in the event that Rodgers were to go down or Tyrod gets nicked up in practice or something, you can elevate that UDFA.
Right.
Again, whichever one is ultimately on the practice squad. But
if you do that, then you're keeping an extra offensive lineman. Then, so if you go like 3 running backs, 2 quarterbacks, keep the extra offensive lineman instead of cutting one of them. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. I mean, that's just, to me, it makes sense given the track record of injuries on the offensive line.
No,
and also too, I don't want to be this guy. I don't want to come across as negative here, but in the event that Tyron Smith were to go down mid game, Morgan Moses were to go down in mid game, I just want to have enough depth at the position where we're not in like freak out emergency mode.
Yeah.
Not only just during the game, but after the game, as far as, okay, who are we going to pick up the phone and call? Is it available free agent? Is it somebody off somebody else's practice squad? Because I feel as though, I mean, we've seen the Jets do that over and over with a couple of the same offensive linemen, whether it's been like a Connor McDermott before in the past, like up and down from the practice squad, active roster, practice squad, active roster. A couple other guys throughout the years or under, Joe Douglas's regime here. But Grant, what's up, man? Hope you're doing well. Tyson, explained Olu switching left to right in terms of being in the squared circle stance, hand fighting.
Am I a friggin' offensive line coach? What am I doing here? It's a completely different stance, though. It's a whole different pursuit, like a whole different approach to the game. I mean, good.
Yeah, no. So I had a buddy reach out who used to train some NFL players out in California. Had this whole massive dude, and he personally does not like the switch, and he's a big Jet fan. And I've been kind of in contact with him for years. Awesome dude. He has always kind of voiced his opinion, and it started with Becton. Always voiced his opinion about having or moving guys like that on the fly, moving a left tackle to right tackle one week and then swapping them back, and then just kind of having this guessing game for the player there. If you want to make the full switch in the offseason and just say, boom, you're starting right tackle,
then you could
that's one thing. Yep. But if it's 1 week to the next, or 1 month you're at right, 1 month you're at guard, next month you're back at right, then you're at left tackle, it just can get a little weird. And, again, I know we mentioned this before, but I do find it strange that Saleh literally was talking about how that could have played a part in AVT's injuries and how they kind of learned their lesson from it. And they're hell-bent on keeping AVT at one position. But then with Olu, or I guess maybe the tackle position, because they do this with Carter and Max, not Moses and Tyron. So it's almost like we also didn't do it with Dwayne Brown either. So it's almost like you have to like earn your stripes or something with the position to not get moved around. Valen, what's up, dude?
Yeah, so we did a lot on the offense. Now the defensive line, I got some questions for you because it's getting really interesting. The whole Reddick thing, I continue to think he's going to show up next week. I think once preseason's over, he shows up and whatever. But the guys that are replacing him in the interim are getting mixed reviews, where Will McDonald it's actually showing you something. The spin move, getting sacks, he's showing he's explosive. He's showing some good things. Michael Clemens, to me, is a guy that I just don't understand right now. Like, I don't know how you evaluate him. The Jets have told us he's getting first string reps. He's becoming a 3-down player. He's becoming all these things. But when you put the game on against second and third stringers, you don't really see much. He over pursues, doesn't really get to the quarterback. He's always seems like he's out of position or just like a step too slow, whether it's, I don't know why. Maybe I'm just like negative about him or whatever, but what are your thoughts on Michael Clemens? Because to me, it's like, if you look at all the young guys that everybody loves, whether it's, Watts, McGregor, Taylor, whoever it is, can one of these guys take his spot based on their ability and their potential? Tack McKinley, or is Clemens a lock for the roster?
It seems like Clemens is a lock for the roster.
But why?
Well, I'm not making the decision. The Jets are making the decision.
Did you watch McKinley's burst? I'm not, just for example, but did you see him burst off the line, off the snap, how fast he looked and how explosive he looked? You look at him and look at Clemens. I understand every player is different, but what is Clemens' role? Run stopper? Like, what is he going to be here? The first 2 downs, run stopper, then you bring in Will McDonald on 3rd down? Is that how they're going to use him?
Clemens seems like a guy who, like, personally, like given his frame, strength, power, all that kind of stuff, he seems like a guy that should be able to set the edge really well in the running game, like kind of wall off on his side. And also somebody too who you can send in on like on a stunt where you have him come up the inside, and really, once he gets kind of squared with the quarterback and has a little bit of breathing room, within the offensive line, he should just be able to bull rush, break through the, I guess kind of the 2 halves of the offensive lineman, the center guard or guard tackle, however you want to deploy him. That is really where I feel like Clemens could be dangerous. But I mean, like you said, like it's not like we've seen like a 10-sack season from Clemens. It's not like he's, rolling out there just flat out dominating it and whatnot. So I completely understand it. But I will say this: Saleh and Ulbrich they know what they're doing defensively. And if you don't have, you allow Bryce Huff to leave, you trade away John Franklin Myers, Hassan Reddick is not showing up. That's 3 guys that are just not here. 2 of which were here last season.
But the counter to your point is that they know what they're doing and they're great defensive coaches, and you're still not seeing what you want out of Clemens. Is it a player issue then? And I'm being hard on him because right now he's what we have. Like Reddick, when he is back, it's going to take 2 weeks to get ready, and God knows what's going to happen with him. But like, yeah, I know. But you know what I mean, though? Like, you look at the explosive nature of some other players, and you see the ability. We're like, all right, they're all playing at second and third stringers. Who's sticking out more than others? And he should be dominating. He should be showing us a lot more. And maybe it's just my expectations are too high of him. But I don't like. It's an interesting point to see why they keep him. Like, I want to hear why they're keeping him. Is it because of special teams? Like, what is it?
So let me ask you, what are you expecting in these preseason games where Clemens, and I'm just playing devil's advocate, but are you expecting a sack a game from Clemens and
legit pressure,
a quarter of football?
Like legit pressure where he's dominating somebody and overwhelming somebody. Like, wow, damn, that's an impressive play. Like, all right, I can see what he's doing. Like Will McDonald gave you the splash play. All right, we saw it 2 weeks in a row now. He's giving you sacks. He's showing you things, but you're not seeing like 3 tackles for a loss. You're not seeing him knock guys on their ass. You're not really seeing a lot of that for a guy that this is his 3rd year now. Like, you're like, all right. To me, it's like the weight gain hurt him. It just seems like something like the player he was when he first got here is not the same player now. And it's not sure that's a good thing. Maybe he's more well-rounded, but he's not as explosive. Or maybe I'm just not watching. Maybe I'm not seeing it right.
Yeah, I mean, I know Ulbrich had a recent kind of tangent about Michael Clemens, just raving about him.
Yeah.
And obviously, Clemens is getting the starting nod with no Reddick. It's been, at least in these preseason games, Clemens and McDonald. I'm trying to think, man, because Jermaine is going to be the go-to starter.
Yep.
And it also, if you look into the training camp practices, it's Jermaine and Clemens. It's not Jermaine and Will.
Yep.
So, you would like to think that, okay, logic would say when cuts, go down to 53 and the Jets are looking at their depth chart, it's not going to be Reddick, Jermaine, Will McDonald, Tack McKinley, whoever, McGregor, Clemens, because if that was the case, Clemens would probably hardly be getting an opportunity in camp.
Right.
Or
they're trying to truly give him the best chance they can to see what he brings to the table. But look, this is your evaluation. You're getting a chance to run with the ones day in and day out to show what you can do. And if you can't do it at our standard, maybe we got to go in a different direction. Like, I don't know, like the defensive line choices are going to be really interesting. You have a lot of talent, like a lot of guys we all like, and the guys that are flash. Like I've always liked Tanzel Smart. Like I like different players, but it's like the most important thing is where's your pass rush going to come from if Reddick is not going to be here or Reddick's not going to be ready till week 2, week 3, or whenever it is. You have Jermaine Johnson, who's awesome. We love him. All the talent in the world. He gets nicked up. What are we doing? Kind of Will McDonald every third down. Like that's where you get a little. So if you have a guy like, just for example, like I'm not saying Tack McKinley's next coming of whoever, but where's your pass rusher going to come from? Where's your speed guy? Where's your big physical presence off the edge that's going to be there for you?
I mean, I feel like on the surface, though, we should be okay when you look at the situations, right? Jermaine was a first-round pick. Will McDonald was a first-round pick. Clemens, it was a mid-round pick who's been in the system for a while, who, according to Ulbrich and Saleh, they really, really like him. We have the whole Reddick potential thing. Could he show up? Is he going to skip? But if he does show up, obviously that's another pass rusher. And then, all these other guys, McKinley, McGregor, Watts, they're all supposedly impressing. So it's like.
So how many do you keep?
Well, I mean, I think at that point you probably have to look at the grand scheme of the 53. For me, right now, I'm thinking 10 to 11 defensive linemen total.
You have to.
Like you have your starting 4: Kinlaw, Quinnen, Jermaine, and I'm just gonna say Reddick.
Yep.
And then, in my opinion, the primary backup 4. I know it might not look like this on game day, because there's going to be so much rotation, and depending on formation, we could see different starters here and there, different backups here and there. But I think the back 4 would be McDonald, Solomon, Lecky Fotu, and then Clemens. And then McKinley would probably be that situational third and long pass rusher when somebody needs to come off, or Tack's role might be bigger if Reddick needs time to adjust early, like in that first, 3 weeks.
Yeah, I could see that. It's going to be interesting, man, because they have some legitimate talent there where it's like every year, and I agree with Afram on that. I agree. I think it's Clemens hasn't been the same since putting on extra muscle. And it's funny because that was the Jets' plan for Clemens. And then when Will McDonald started off slow, you saw everybody saying the same thing. He's got to put on weight. He's got to put on weight. Got to put on weight. Then Brian Baldinger came out and said, no, he shouldn't. Then Jim Nagy came out and said the same thing. Like, no, like this kid, let him be the athlete that he is and let him be explosive. And let's see what he can do at this weight and be the player that he can be instead of trying to make him somebody he's not. You know what I mean? So I'm wondering if that kind of happened with Clemens a little bit.
So you're talking, so those comments were regarding Will McDonald, correct?
Yep. They were saying, you know what? He looks explosive. He doesn't need to put on weight. Let him flourish where he's at. Like, let him be there. And that's something with Clemens. They're like, oh, he's got to put on weight to be more of like a run stop or this and that, a more physical presence where, I think he kind of lost some of his edge. It seems like.
Yeah. I mean, the whole thing, like you could tell too, man, like that the Jets have an idea or a plan for every defensive lineman they have. And chances are it works, right? Like we've seen Jermaine take a step. Q's best season came under Robert Saleh, right? Easily one of the best defensive tackles, easily top 5.
Yep.
Solomon turning into a solid rotational player when he just looked like a cast off in San Francisco. I mean, we're hearing what's going on with Tack McKinley, but the whole Will McDonald thing is interesting because, Carl Lawson didn't work out. That's kind of the only blemish on, their resume as far as defensive linemen panning out, but injuries had a lot to, do with that. Yeah. But with Will McDonald, I thought it was interesting because, at the time of the draft, they were like, oh, he wasn't really used in the right way at Iowa State. And I'm thinking like, man, to me, it's like disrespectful because, Will McDonald was flat out dominant at Iowa State, and he was easily the best defensive lineman that the Cyclones had. So they had to, their approach was, okay, he's our best player here. We're going to put him in the positions where we need him the most. So if he has to line up on the inside, and also too, they Iowa State would run 3, odd man front. So 3 down linemen. Yep. So he wasn't, he didn't have, and again, it was McDonald was lined up all over the place. So when I initially heard those comments, even though I was like taken aback by it at first, like, whoa, it's kind of a not necessarily a shot at the Iowa State coaching staff, but just like a little,
It was.
hey, we know more than you kind of
Yep.
thing. And then to get him in, and then for us to, again, draft the 2 first-round edge rushers in back-to-back drafts, and then to, have this whole Hassan Reddick thing hanging over our shoulder where, where we feel forced to trade for him. And for us to be sitting here right now and to like not have a set answer is a bit concerning, but I think McDonald will be fine in time.
Yeah, I think the defensive line cuts can be really interesting to see who they keep, who they don't keep. When you go to linebacker, it gets interesting because you have the 3 guys you love, right? You have Mosley, you have Sherwood, you have Quincy. Quincy's all pro. And then after that, Zaire Barnes has played pretty well.
Yeah.
Chaz Surratt. I know Saleh loves Surratt. Surratt's got excellent speed, but he gets hurt a lot. Like how many, I guess between like the new kickoff rule, you're going to want to have guys on special teams. Like how many linebackers do you think they keep?
I'm thinking 4. You're going to have because Sherwood is pretty versatile in the sense that he could play outside or inside. So like my mindset 4, I guess maybe 5, but I'm thinking CJ and also too, man, like you're lined up in like nickel so much, like Michael Carter's going to see so much time. So it's like, all right, CJ Mosley and Quincy, those are going to be the 2 starters. Quincy is kind of like the strong side linebacker. CJ, obviously the middle linebacker. And then when you want to deploy the 4-3 look, Sherwood would come in as the weak side. And then let's just say CJ gets hurt. Sherwood can bounce over to middle and take his spot. And then that would leave, okay, we need somebody who can play or somebody who can probably cover Quincy in the event that he gets hurt, and somebody that can at least drop back in coverage to cover Sherwood. But chances are, again, it's a chances game. Like, do the Jets coach, like, are the Jets going to have 5 linebackers on the, active roster in the event that, let's just say, Quincy Williams gets hurt in the first couple drives of the game? Yeah. Probably not, right? Like they're not prepping for that. I think in the event that one of the starters goes down, we have that versatile piece in Sherwood, and we probably keep 1 extra. And then from that point, they would just do in-game adjustments,
right?
Whether it's maybe if you don't want to, if the offense doesn't have like an inside receiver, if it's more like 2 tight end looks, you could just add in another safety as opposed to bringing in that extra linebacker.
Bring Chuck Clark in the box or something like that. Bring Chuck Clark down or whatever else. Yeah.
Yeah. And bro, I've been totally impressed with Jalen Key. I think he looks really solid, man.
Now, but
being the last pick of the draft.
And the secondary is really interesting because you have a lot of guys coming on now. Like you have a lot of young players, and you see like pretty much every preseason broadcast, they're giving endless compliments to Jets coaching staff. Like these defensive backs are well coached, they're well prepared, they're playing excellent technique, and it's a lot of young guys. Where I like Eccles. I know everybody wants to cut Eccles. I like Eccles a lot, but you see Bernard Converse playing well, but unfortunately got hurt. You have Stiggers is playing very well. Trey Swilling's playing well. And then you have the Codrington thing, which is kind of like interesting, where he came out of nowhere, where he was arguably probably the most explosive player in the field last week with his returns. Like he was electric with the ball. So like, how do you handle the cornerback group? Because you figure last year, Justin Hardy was a cornerback, never played there, but he was there primarily for special teams. Could Codrington kind of fall in that role because he's such a great returner?
It's tough, man, because, well, first off, yeah, he's going to be the backup in the event that he makes the team. He would be the backup nickel corner. So, for Michael Carter's backup. But I think it's interesting because I really don't think JBC and putting Stiggers and JBC on the practice squad, to me, that's saying that's sending him away. That's like cutting him because they're going to be picked up like that.
No, you can't.
And also too, like with Stiggers, you're not just going to outright release a guy like that. I mean, they passed up on so many like positions of need at that time. You're not going to draft somebody, him dominate in preseason, dominate in camp, and then just send him into the practice squad, and then boom, he's on another team because he gets claimed.
So how many corners you keep him? Because you figure you got to keep. I'm keeping Eccles. He's suspended week 1, right? You keep Eccles. Bernard Converse is hurt. You have Stiggers. Yeah, he's got to make the team. There's no way about that. But how many do you keep? Because they like to do like nickel and dime a lot. Do you add another guy, or do you take how do you handle it?
I would probably say 5 or 6. I mean, you got your starting 3.
I'd say 6.
Yeah, so you're starting 3. Well, okay, so who would be that sixth corner for you? Codrington?
Oh, I forgot about him. Damn it. You
Because
got
you'd have, again, Reed, Carter, Gardner.
you have Stiggers, Eccles.
So 5. And then what is it, JBC or Codrington? Do you
To me,
want the
to me,
outside?
it's JBC. But how hurt is he? Is he gonna be back at practice soon?
So yeah. So Saleh said that he's being shut down for the rest of camp, but should be good to go. But here's another thing. Codrington is a UDFA from this year, so you can put him on the practice squad, and chances are he's going to stay there.
You would think.
Whereas JBC was there all of last season, and there's only you can't just keep a guy on the practice squad forever. Like you have a limited time to do that.
Right.
So, I mean, and I guess also too something you can maybe argue for JBC. Let's just say freak accident, something crazy happens.
He could play
You need an emergency safety. Converse can go back there and fill in and look competent.
Yeah, he's versatile too. That probably gives him the advantage because like Codrington's kind of like a one trick pony right now. It's like returns, you're not really focusing on his game at corner. Interesting. We have like legitimate like arguments about talent now. Like for a long time, the Jets didn't have any talent. Now they have talent where you're like, all right, what's the it's like interesting decisions they have to make right now. Then if that's who's gonna be your returner then? Gibson.
Well, it would be returner in what sense? Kick or punt return?
Both.
So kickoff. I mean, we just have to read what the Jets are giving us right now. It's Gibson. So far, it's been Gibson. It's been Isaiah Davis. It's been Braylon Allen in camp. And then
try Corley, I think too.
Yeah, and then you got to assume that Corley's probably going to get a crack at it. So
yeah,
that's 4 options right there. I mean, if Tariq walked away from the game, and that's his specialty,
yeah,
I don't know. You kind of feel like that position is locked up.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's interesting battles, man. Like these cuts are gonna be really fascinating to see, like the rhyme and reason behind it, and who they can get to keep on their practice squad. I think they may lose a lot of guys that they cut.
Yeah, Oscar. So I'm not sure of an exact number. I know, like on a year-to-year basis, you can't just continue to sign one player and keep him on the practice squad every year for years on end. Like I think there's a limited amount of years that you can do that. I think the limit is 2 or 3 that you can keep a player on the practice squad. You can elevate him and bring him down. I don't know if there's a limit on that specifically, like how many times you can elevate a player.
I don't think so.
Like think of a guy like Connor
all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, think of a guy like Connor McDermott. He was up and down, up and down. I want to say for the majority of the season.
Yep.
Yeah, David. Good point, man. When will the NFL extend the rosters? 53 isn't fair. I mean, bro, there's so many good players in football. I mean, also too. I mean, it probably just comes down to money, but like for a health perspective, for a depth perspective, obviously, if they bump that number up to, let's just call it 60, you can have an extra 7 players on the roster, and you would assume that they're all going to be on the lower tier on the, financial scale. Like they're all like, late round pick or UDFAs or, late round picks from previous years or something.
But also adding games too. Like it used to be a 16 game season. Now it's 17 games, more games. Going to be going to 18 games soon. More games should be more roster spots, right? You're demanding more from the players. You get that more players. That's also quality of the game too.
Yeah, dude. And another thing too is you got rid of a preseason game, so you now have less opportunities to scout these guys.
Yep. No, it's
so yeah, dude. I mean, it's going to be interesting. So I'm just reading some of these comments here. You're right. 3 times per season.
Is that true? It seemed like it was more than that.
Interesting. I mean, yeah. So like my mindset right now is that Codrington would be on the practice squad.
Yep.
Because JBC already spent, a season on the practice squad. If he's on there, he's going to get claimed.
Yeah, and he's versatile. The corners are hard to find. He knows this. He knows the defense. He's starting to come into his own. You got to keep him.
Yeah, but dude, I think that's going to do it for us, man. Is there anything else that you wanted to cover?
Yeah, I've got a question. I'll put you on the spot. 2 surprise cuts. Give me 2 surprise cuts. I think because when's the cut down? Next Tuesday, right?
Yeah. 2 surprise. I mean, is he that much of a surprise?
Mm-mm.
It's going to be tough. I mean, if Izzy's not a surprise, I would probably have to say either Max Mitchell or Carter Warren, one of those, like the loser of that battle. If you were talking surprise cuts here, and assuming that the Jets don't want to have that extra, O lineman. Honestly, I can't really think of another one, man. I mean, I don't really envision the Jets cutting like an Ashton Davis.
To me, it's like a Jason Brownlee. I think a guy like that could get caught in the crosshairs. Make it second become a surprise.
It's gonna be tough, man. I mean, we'll probably when's the deadline for that for the cut down? Like what time?
Isn't it like 4:00? It's usually like I forget.
Because we'll be live on your channel to break it all down, which would be cool.
We're gonna be arguing. This will probably be our first show we argue.
Yeah, dude. So yeah, no, I appreciate everybody hanging out, tuning in. Aaron, what's going on, man? Commander Dakota, Blunt, bro, I appreciate that the super chat from before, man. It really does mean a lot. But yeah, I think that's gonna do it for us. Oh, E-Boogie, bro, thank you. I appreciate that. Cuts Clemens, dude. Clemens and Izzy. I could definitely see Izzy, but the only way I see Clemens getting cut is if Tack is just he's just better,
I mean, that's the guy. I mean, Clemens, you know what the thing with Clemens is? We loved him at first, but now it's like you're not seeing the play you want, the fights, the penalties. You're like, all right, his act is wearing a little thin now. It's like, listen, we want to see you dominate. And that's where fans are starting to turn on him a little bit.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what else, man. As far as like a potential cut.
I like Tanzel Smart too. I saw K-Dude. I'm with you, man. I like Tanzel Smart for like 2 years now. But he just
yeah, dude. Blunted, bro. I appreciate that. Yeah, Tanzel Smart has been looking really good in preseason. Wrapping up, he's getting a lot of tackles.
Other than that,
makes the Saleh also loves, and also too, man. Clemens was like handpicked by this staff.
So was Huff.
Well, no, because Huff was with Greg Williams.
Was he? Oh, that's right. You're right. Yeah. You're right.
But kind of, because I remember Huff would flash that season. And then when Saleh took over, there was like a talk like, Huff is probably going to get cut. He doesn't, he might not get the 4-3, but he just kept showing up and kept impressing.
That's right.
But yeah, Leonard Taylor's is he's a beast too. But yeah, that's going to do it for us. I appreciate everybody hanging out, tuning in. Next week, we're going to be over on Tyson's channel, Let's Talk Jets Radio. It should be highlighted in the title.
Yep.
If you guys don't know it, but I'm sure you guys already do. Anyway, let me know your thoughts. And as always, go Jets.